Okay, buildings and grounds meeting.
All right.
Floor is yours.
All right,
Ryan.
we'll jump right into it. We did bring all the drawings that we have for the Buckeye addition project. So we'll run through these. We're not going to cover every drawing in detail, but we will go through the primary drawings. We did bring some material samples as well, so we can look at the finishes we're proposing inside of the building, just to give everybody an idea of what we're talking about from a finish standpoint. These are the materials that we talked about previously, including in the building. So there's this and a couple of other samples down here that we can bring out. And we did bring some renderings as well. So without further ado, I think the first thing I'm going to do actually is just cover the renderings to give people a general flavor of what the building looks like, and then we can jump into the drawings. Maybe we'll do the renderings, then we'll look at finishes quick, and then we'll jump into the drawings in case people have to leave. So real quickly on the outside of the building, this is the first view of the building itself. And what you're seeing here, this portion along this edge are the classrooms, the new classrooms. There is one classroom that's getting cut off here, and there's the little connector piece. But really the concept was to pull that flavor of that existing building, some of the modulation, things of that nature, into this section of the building. We do have the higher, bigger mass of the gymnasium that you see in the background here, an entrance right at this location, meeting room, some storage, and then back here, this low wall that you're seeing there is actually where the children would go. So this view is really to create a bit of an entry piece here for a portion of the building that could be used more extensively at night in off hours for visitors and things like that. And you'll see in the plan the way this building is set up. It is conducive to sectioning off portions of the building and making sure that this area is accessible and you're able to kind of lock off the classrooms so that you don't have a lot of people migrating through those sections of the building at night. From a material palette standpoint, brick, it reads a little orange here, but it's intended to match the existing brick on the building, so we're pulling that through. And then we're using a lighter brick masonry up above and then some of this banding. The idea with the banding is to kind of pick up on stone features. And then this higher portion, we've had really good success of using a lighter colored masonry up high to kind of break down the scale of larger objects like this. A taller section of that darker brick just reads really heavy. And with the bulk of the building being a very low building, we were trying to diminish kind of that scale of that massive element in the background. So, bless you. The rest of the materials, windows, copings, all of those sorts of things, the metals, those would all be to match the existing building, and the existing building it's anodized aluminum, so it's a silvery color. Here's a view of the back of the building. Again, you can see these classrooms. It's got similar features in some of these end elements. This landscaping is just generic. It's just thrown in there for reference. But there would be landscaping along these edges. This grass you're seeing here would ultimately be where the playgrounds sit. We just did not render that in these views. This is the back entrance that gets you into the lobby space, and you see the gymnasium right there. And then jumping into the building, we'll start with the lobby space. We'll go with this one first. Lobby space, pulling in some of this flooring that we have here. This is a rubber product. The material, we can get it to look similar to a terrazzo. Terrazzo, great flooring system. It was done all the time back in the day. It's incredibly expensive. This is something we've had good success with. It wears well. It's ecologically friendly. It's a rubber-based product. It does not require as much maintenance as some of the vinyls do. And we can tone it. We are picking colors that are kind of in the Riverside family. We can pull that into the material so that we can get a very specific look that goes with what you have in the district. So
is that window there looking into the gym, or?
This is a display case.
Oh, display
Right
case.
when you come in the door, there's a big display case. This is the hallway that gets you back into the classroom section. This is a family restroom. These are the primary restrooms. This is a drinking fountain, a bench along this wall. The left-hand side, there's 2 doors that get you into the gymnasium. So this is meant to be it's a hallway, obviously, but it's an interior space, lobby space for that with the bench and the monitor and these restrooms and everything so that you are able to accommodate a group of people. And the way we've been looking at this is those big events, those happen, at nights. But during the day when you're trying to pull students through here, having this space that you could use as another extended learning area, a nice extended learning area, is just another nice feature. You're buying square footage, you're buying area anyway, and it's nice to be able to pull that in as a secondary function.
Do you have bus turnaround on that parking lot that goes towards there, or the bus turnaround still where it is?
Bus turnaround's where it is.
Okay.
This is car traffic. Bus radius is just a little too large. We'd have a little more difficulty with that. And here's a second view. You can kind of see, again, this is that big wall. These are the gym doors. This is the meeting room. These are the doors to the main parking lot out front, and then restrooms to the left.
Those lights there, are those suspended?
These big square elements they're essentially a ribbon type light that you can connect in just about any shape. We were trying to create kind of a big, massive type of element in that lobby space, so it gives it a little more grandiose feel. This is not a huge space, but we wanted it to feel a little bigger than it actually is, to give you a little more presence. These colors are not hard-lined, so we can change these colors, obviously. But the idea is to create, kind of an accent wall on the gym. Maybe we put a little bit of text. We've got the signage in the project right now, but we could alter that, if you decide to do some graphics, or if you decide to do some student art or paintings or whatever you want to do on this wall, old pictures, you could do something on this wall that would be a little different, but we felt this was a pretty good starting place for that. And then we'll go into the gym itself. Views of the gym, again, these floor colors can change a little bit, but you see the volume of the space. You've got acoustic panels around the outside, your athletic panels on the walls, the padding in there, highlight fixtures. And then another view with the stage brightly lit, but what you're seeing here is stage on one side. These are portable bleachers on this side. You've got your drop-down goals, which will probably be white at the end of the day. This gets you your access back there. This is that meeting room that we've talked about a few times, so that you'd be able to pull students into that meeting room as kind of a staging space and pull them up the stairs onto the stage, which would be nice. Then you got storage, and then a back ramp to get students up via a ramp on the back side of the space. And we'll see that in the plan as well.
What's the stage? Recessed?
Yeah. And you'll see that in the plan too. Some of these are a little hard to read.
And is it offset, or was it in the middle of the?
No, it's centered.
It is centered,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
it
yeah.
just, it was the way, it looks like it was at that one end of the room.
Yeah, no, and
Just half the
it's
room.
kind of in the view, and like more than likely, we might end up painting this out black. Oftentimes we do, but with your space, the stage space, the way it is, the depth of it, the size of it, it is something we could give it more of a classroom color, and you could use it as, again, another extended learning area within the building where you could do classes and things like that. You have space there that you could utilize for more than maybe just performances, that sort of thing. You can see here too, we do have acoustic panels in the ceiling, I forgot to mention those. But the idea is to create a nice, very usable space with multifunction. And then classrooms, just a couple of classroom views. You're just seeing, we've got carpet and the LVT that we were talking about. The carpet is, this configuration is very similar to what's over at Riverview. The concept with this building was, again, bringing some of those same character elements into this building. You get final finish selections that can ultimately change, but we've got a placeholder in for all of those pieces, parts. And you can see the cubbies and door access way and teacher restroom and such.
The materials that were selected for flooring and lights and even the caseboard.
Yep.
Is that all materials that we could use then when we rehab
Yes.
the original section?
Yeah. And so that's what you're seeing here. Just these are a handful of examples. anybody wants, come up and look at it. These are the rubber those are the chips of the different rubber colors we can get. This is the LVT that we've included in the space. This would be in the classrooms, kind of give it a little bit of warmth on that floor. And then this is the carpet that we've selected. Again, pulling in some of those school colors in a section of the building that's new. So you could pull some of this in. This building's small enough that we could select a couple of different colors. So as you go into the existing building and redo areas, you could get themed. So like maybe this is the gold wing. Maybe you have one that's got a blue or a green or whatever it is, and you could define sections of the building by color. So we could pull a little bit of that into the space.
And would you pick that over carpet tile, or would you rather, I think Rich
This
would rather.
is a tile.
Oh, that is a tile?
It's a plank tile.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, these are actually really nice. These are interesting in that you can do, and you can with square tiles too, but you can do an ashlar pattern, which is an offset pattern. They do hold down really nicely
Okay.
in that way, and then the patterning is a bit of a stagger. We felt it played nicely with the wood, just in kind of the texture of what it is.
And can you install either one of those over the existing floors in the building? In the existing building, or?
Assuming that the existing floor is secure, then you
Okay.
should be able to go over the top.
Okay.
Just a couple of laminates that we have as placeholders, and then this is the floor that we've been using in big group restrooms and such. This is one of those epoxies with a fleck and a finish. This stuff rides like a brick. It's very durable, it's very strong, and it's easy to maintain. Anything anybody else wanted to see related to the renderings? Any questions?
On the group restrooms, are you calling
Sure.
out epoxy paint?
Yes, yep, on block walls, epoxy paint. That saves you, like in areas here where you have the hand dryers or the paper towels in buildings, you will get
Yeah.
stuff on the walls that you need wiped down. The epoxy paint is just super durable, easier to maintain, so that gives you that flexibility. Any other questions, comments?
Brian, on the brick, do you have, did the supplier match it yet, or?
They are still looking at, ultimately we'll end up with one that's probably the closest,
The
because it
closest.
was accurate,
Yeah.
back in the day, and then you're gonna get a couple of bidders that will have slightly different variations of it. Nothing is gonna match perfectly. The age of the building, we're just
Sure.
not gonna be able to match it perfectly.
But they have something close enough?
Yeah.
What suppliers are you working with?
We talk with Thomas, and we
Uh-huh.
talk with Tucker Supply mostly. We work with Raymond Builders and folks like that in the past as well. So there are a handful of good ones around here, Brickyard, that are all capable of providing good material. Any other questions on renderings, or not, I will jump into drawings. Does everybody want to go through the specifications, read the project?
No.
Yeah, right. That's
So-
that's that 10 o'clock interview.
We'll skip that.
Insomnia.
So we will start with the floor plans. I'll skip some of these. We don't need to cover notes and legends. That's all boilerplate type information that goes into these drawings. Let me open up the other one first. Oops. Of course. So here's our overall floor plan. This is the existing building down in this location. The main old existing building, the library addition. This is where the new entrance vestibule is. So what you're seeing here is in this section, we do have those couple small group rooms and sensory room that are being carved into that space. This is the old mechanical room. It's quite cozy. And then as you move into the addition, we do have firewall here. That would be a newly constructed firewall. The 8 classrooms. These are 2 small group rooms, so for intervention specialists, people of that nature in that location, so it's very centrally located along that hallway. And then you got the larger classrooms, we're calling kindergarten classrooms, down in this area, and then 4 standard classrooms with communicating doors in between those. So that's what you're seeing in this section. This area here is corridor. We are also considering that an extended learning area. So you will have the capacity to put a monitor on this wall. We're building in a bench element similar to this lobby space, so that again, as you're trying to find space in this building where you want to have a breakout session, maybe you have an interventionist that wants to meet with a couple of students, you have a couple of pockets within the building that you can have those break-off opportunities away from the classrooms. So that's that. Typical standard classrooms are very similar to what we have elsewhere in the district. You come into the space, there is the line of cubbies, there is a restroom in the kindergarten classrooms, there is a bank of casework with sink and overhead storage, teacher station here, and then your teaching wall, which has space for your monitor and marker boards and such. So it's very, very comparable to everything you've seen elsewhere. These don't read great, just for cleanup. Mechanical room at this location, this is our main entrance that we were talking about before, so we've got a bigger kind of access from the parking lot. There's a secondary access that gets you out to the playgrounds on the back side of the building. This space is that kind of core accessible area where, again, you could lock off at these doors after hours and contain visitors to the building into this lobby, into the gymnasium stage, meeting room, so you have access to all those amenities. In addition, the way that we've positioned the family restroom, the group restrooms, the drinking fountain, those are all on the open side of that door. So you have this locked off, you can access all of those elements, so you can really run activities after hours without having to open up those other sections.
Quick question on the mechanical room, will there be roof access?
Where'd we end up with our roof edge? Is it in this room?
We'll have to put it in there, yeah.
Okay, so yes, we will have access to that space.
That's you've got a vestibule put in there as well, so there's gonna be like car rears and,
We have the capacity to do
Phones
that.
and all
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, we had talked about one door in through that space to get you in and out of that area.
okay.
Correct. The AI phone, we could add, I don't believe we have that built into the project at that location. Is that something we want to add there?
I think if we're going to use that meeting room for IEP meetings or community meetings, absolutely, we should have a secure space in there.
So we could add that AI phone, that door. The way this functions too is you have this meeting room, as we had talked about, it has a door from both sides. That was intentional. The idea being that you could have, in just general access, but if you have something going on in the stage, you would be able to pull students through the meeting room. Maybe you do, adjust costumes or whatever there be. You'd have that ability to kind of do this as a little bit of a green room before they go out onto the stage space. There's access via stair. There's also a secondary access that comes off of this end, which is a ramp that gets you up onto the stage, so you don't need to have a lift. So you've got that function built into it, and then you've got storage at that location.
Ryan, I apologize, I stepped out. How many total classrooms did we end up with?
Eight.
Eight,
Yep.
single floor? Okay.
Yep, 8 and 2 small group rooms.
Okay.
And these, as may have.
Connected for,
Yep,
okay.
yeah,
for
you got
competition.
that connection.
Okay.
between those. Yep. This piece here looks like a building, this is where the chiller goes. So again, that's to kind of maintain the aesthetic of the building, carry it around in masonry, contain that chiller, give a little bit of acoustic separation. This chiller will be set up so that it runs the entire building essentially.
So that's gonna run the
That can run the
Whole
entire
damn
building, yep, that can
Okay.
run the entire building. So the concept of heating and cooling, just so everybody's brought up to speed, this building was designed with boiler system, so it's a piped system with boiler and a chiller, so that's providing hot and cold water to the units that will be in the classroom. So you've got air handlers that push air through the space, you've got cold water and hot water that allow you to adjust temperatures. So the way this is designed is that there would be one boiler inside the mechanical room with this addition. This addition gets built, boiler gets installed, everything's up and operational with the chiller, everything's there. Then when you get ready to do this portion, you're able to add a second boiler to cover the rest of this space. The reason we didn't do one large boiler is just if for whatever reason you don't do a section of this or you change your philosophy on how you want to operate this, we wanted to make sure that this building, this section of the building operates on its own independently. The other beautiful thing about having the two boilers is that they offer some redundancy. So if one of them ever conks out, you have the second one that can run and operate at the same time. But to put in just a large boiler at one point, like right up front, that we're not connecting the rest of the building to, it would run the risk of burning out that boiler prematurely. It's going to be kicking on, kicking off all the time because it's oversized for just this portion. So until you do the tie-in and tie everything together, that big single boiler is just too much for the space. So it works out really nice.
Ryan, what's the glass? The glass on on the exterior, is it just normal tempered glass?
As it's shown right now, we have, I think we have film on these windows.
3M?
3M type film on these windows.
Is
So,
it tempered or laminated? Because we're
um,
running into this issue now with them on the warranty, I still don't have that resolved with them.
we generally call for it to be a safety glazing, so it could be either one of them. And they could bid it whichever system works more effectively for their warranty, to provide the warranty. So I'm not opposed to one versus the other.
Okay. And then the second boiler will sit in the new mechanical room or in the existing mechanical?
As it's set up, it would sit in the new mechanic.
The new mechanical.
And the idea with that is all your piping gets situated in that space, so that all you're doing is dropping that secondary boiler into that location, and then you're able to valve it in, and it's all just one big loop.
Are we replacing the original boiler with this addition?
When everything's up and functioning, it would. Yes.
So that's with this initial project?
No.
No.
The
Okay.
initial project is just the boiler for this portion and the chiller that would be able to accommodate everything. But when we get ready to do the rest of the building, then you install that second boiler, connect the pipe down here, and then basically tie into the rest of the building.
So the piping is all gonna be done under this, even for
The piping.
For the existing?
The piping down to the existing
Yeah.
building would be there, but you would not do the piping throughout the rest of the existing building yet. Because we're gonna, when we get ready to do the work in the existing building, you're taking down lots of ceilings in order to get access there. Those ceilings are, difficult.
But we won't have to remove any of the ceilings down the new hallway that we picked.
No, it'll be like a connection, you know, all you do is just tie into that.
I know, but I just wanna make sure.
He may have to get some access there just for tie-ins. We do have some
Okay.
electrical and things, but the intention is not to do wholesale
Okay.
replacement of ceilings or installation of piping initially.
So we're gonna have one boiler for each section.
Essentially, when it gets piped in, it would be two boilers that operate the whole building. So they
So if
would.
one goes down, we can valve open to both sections.
Yes,
He's gonna-
correct.
He's gonna design them in series where we can shut one off, but technically you would need both.
The boiler that's in there now, in the original, is the original boiler, correct?
Yes. And that would, like I said, once that second boiler gets installed and the piping gets installed in this portion of the building, that would be ripped out and you'd have that.
But that's not till we redo the building?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So that's the mechanical philosophy in a nutshell. I'll move on, so we keep moving. That's an enlarged plan of the gym. Let me just bring that up quick. Again, we have, some verbiage on the floor that can change, depending on what we want. We thought it looked nice with the stage up front and, Buckeye Elementary there and some seating and things like that. You can see how the baskets are spaced, nice big gym floor. Size of this gym is comparable to Riverview, so it's, again, working off that same model so that we're bringing some, quality into this building. And you can see some of the lighting and the curtain across the front, things of that nature. Large plan of the classrooms. Again, we kind of went into this a little bit in detail already, but you can see those small group rooms. They have a window to the corridor, so a side light. The rest of these just have the narrow light in the doors, and then the windows on the side walls. These windows are a little higher off the ground. We'll talk about that when we get to the elevations, so everybody's aware of that. And then the existing building, you can see down here, getting some of that work done over in this location.
How many total classrooms will we have, Ryan, do you know, between existing and addition?
I don't. I have not counted the existing classrooms, so I don't know that answer.
Can you do that for me?
Sure.
Excuse me?
Yeah. So just casework plans, these are just showing some general furniture layouts. You can see how this room would be fitted out with table and chairs. You'd have your display on the wall. This is showing just storage, general storage inside the storage room with shelving along the outside and then stacked chairs so that you can do high density stackers that you could utilize in the gym space.
How tall will that room be?
Right now, I think we probably have, what, like 10-foot, 11-foot ceiling, something like that. So it's a pretty large space. Why do you ask?
Because with storage, whatever space you have, you're gonna fill it
That's true.
and want more. And so I just didn't know if there was an ability to
There's,
stack things up higher.
you could get volume. There is that kind of cutoff point where it just gets a little more tricky to get it up higher. So, yeah, we'll have volume that you could get in there and do most things that you want to do. This is general configuration for classrooms down here. You can see just standard classrooms are set up with very similar furniture to what's consistent within the rest of the district. So you have the teacher station, you have a low carpeted space, the rug space with some of the floor elements that they can sit on, some bookshelves, mobile devices, tables, chairs, little break off area for the teacher. So again, very consistent. We've tried to maintain this kind of concept of a wet wall area where you've got your bathrooms, you've got your kind of cleanup area over on this side, you've got your area for all of your boots and shoes and coats and bags and stuff on this side, and all of that is connected with this floor here. So you have the LVT along the edges in the kind of access space. So it's a little easier to clean.
Ryan, did we create any of those bathrooms with the ability to be special needs?
These do not have space for a table or changing table, no.
Okay.
They don't have that. These are very, very much typical.
And they'll be built with, no other way to say this, with kindergarten-sized toilets in them?
So that is a question. Presently, I believe we do. The question will become what the district would prefer for the size of the toilets. Because we've had that before where people get the small toilets and then they don't like them because they are small. Some people prefer the taller toilets because kids are used to using those at home. But we could go either way. The small toilets are very small toilets.
I would agree, and I'm concerned that we will not always have small children
Mhm.
in those classrooms. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That size body, so we might wanna consider that when we're thinking about what we're putting in there.
And
Well, what would you change?
Somebody would have to pull me up
Well,
it.
yeah, what would you change the classroom for if we're
Well-
designing this for kindergarten?
Well, currently, I don't think there's enough kindergarten classes to fill 4 spaces.
Buckeye has 2 kindergarten
Yeah.
sections.
So I just, if we're going to be able to make sure that we can use these spaces for older students, which is a distinct possibility right now, my suggestion would be that we build those so that older students would be comfortable using those restrooms.
yeah, and probably I'm sorry.
Regular size.
You just, you
Yeah,
can do a
right,
regular
yeah,
size
that's-
toilet.
yeah, that's what I'm talking
And the
about,
mounting
yeah.
height, we could just keep the height a little
Okay.
lower than, than you might see in other locations. That
Just
way,
a suggestion, yeah.
Yep,
Would they be wall mounted or floor mounted, I guess?
we've been doing floor mounted
Okay.
for you. That's been kind of the standard. And the idea again is there was, I guess, some difficulty in some of the buildings where people were standing on them and doing stuff they shouldn't. It's a school, that kind of stuff happens. When it breaks and nobody tells anybody, then it becomes a massive problem,
Yes.
so. Each district, each building, each city, there's unique problems all over the place. Yeah, I've got stories for days.
I bet.
So, so that's that in a nutshell. We'll keep moving. Jump to the roof plan. Just generically speaking, everything is considered low slope, so that's very consistent with the rest of the building. This is almost flat. The existing building has very shallow structure, it's got very shallow slope to everything. It's how they were designed back when the building was built. We've got a bit more slope on our building because we're required to for code. And so we've got our drains, we've got overflow as necessary. It all slopes to the middle. These you're seeing are essentially saddles that allow the water to work its way back to the drains. We do have this higher section that is over the lobby. It's over the mechanical room space to get the height we need for the air handlers, and to allow for ductwork to come out of the mechanical room to get to the gymnasium space. So we have this higher section. And then the gym itself is obviously a taller space with the structure kicking down to the edges. So that's what you're seeing over in that location.
On the, back to the gym and the, I didn't see it, but I'm sure it's in there, there's a projector and a screen.
Yep.
in for the gym.
Yep, on the back wall there. Yep.
Have we done any assessment of the current existing roof? Is it good?
Yeah,
Does it is there any economy of scale to do the entire roof?
see, Steve, you stole my thunder. I was gonna ask if that's gonna be an alternate, because we all know that that roof is done.
So that is something that could be done. It is not currently in project. We could have that bid as a secondary element. The bulk of that roof could probably be done as an overlay, which would mean that you go through and essentially, a lot of this is older systems, there's either patches or there's some ballast in areas, things like that. They essentially go through, they clean the roof up, they put down a cover board and they go over the top of it with a rubber surface. Any more of that type of system, you can get a 15, 20-year warranty, which is not a
It's not
whole
too
lot,
bad.
it's not a whole lot different than a full tear-off. The full tear-off is double, triple the cost of an overlay, and if we're able to do the overlay, the warranty isn't that much different, so we've been doing more and more of those recently. I think there's a lot of benefits to it. The challenge is it's not as attractive. You do end up with some areas where, you know, there's some bubbling and things like that in the overlay sometimes, just based on the fact that it's going over a slightly more irregular surface. Some of the flashings get a little bit more tricky sometimes, but it's worked very effectively for several districts I've worked with.
What do you, in terms of not as, what are you gonna see?
You're not.
I'm gonna say, I don't look at the, I mean, is it gonna, yeah,
Be
the
just
birds
on
gonna
the
fly
roof
over,
is
be
what
like,
I
yeah,
see,
that's not
yeah.
again, because
So-
that sounds a lot more, you know,
It's not, you're not, but you are.
Okay.
The area that you would be over the multipurpose space, is over the dining area.
Yeah.
Because that you can see from the ground. So
Okay.
that one, you go over the top of it. The benefit there is that roof is probably the smoothest and in best shape out of everything that you got there. So you've got the best potential for that to be installed in a manner
Okay.
that looks very neat.
Would that be something we want to get a price on?
I think it should be part of an alternate for
We should-
discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should process that. But is there anything we have to worry about down the line if and when the existing space gets remodeled, that we're gonna tear through that roof again? Mechanical,
As far as
electrical?
penetrations, I don't know. I mean, there could be some vents or something like that that have to get cut in the
Well,
future.
that shouldn't be an issue, but anything else?
I don't think so.
Mechanical, electrical?
I don't think so, because we're pulling our chiller, it's not like we're setting condensers up there, we have our boilers inside this space, so there shouldn't be much. It would be related to bathrooms primarily.
Hmm?
Do you, what equipment do you have up there right now?
We have a compressor up there for the office space.
That's it?
but wouldn't that get removed with the new?
Yeah.
Second phase.
Second
So
phase,
that's,
yeah.
I think that's where.
That's what I'm
Roger's
getting
going.
to, is do we wanna put a new roof and have to tear into it in 2 years or
And
a
then
year or whatever?
The 94 edition has a compressor on the roof.
Yeah, okay.
And so-
It's not a huge deal.
The other consideration is if this is a full new system. So you got the insulation, all the bells and whistles that go into putting in this new roof. If this is an overlay, they could knock that out, you know, over a couple months in the summer. I mean, they're gonna be doing the work of prepping it, they're gonna go over there and lay down the board, and they'll do it in sections. They're not gonna do the whole thing at once. They're gonna start at one area and work their way around the building when they do it. So-
We should put that as an alternate,
We can do
we'll,
that.
we'll get numbers as an alternate, and you guys can decide on it.
Yep. The other thing that we probably need to do is just verify how much roof is up there. Because if it's multiple layers, then it's more difficult to get an overlay done, so.
Do you, yeah, okay, we can get coring done.
So that's the roof. We've got just typical details. It's just showing insulation, your board, and all those protectives and everything that goes into that single ply membrane. So that's what you're seeing there. did ceiling plans, do these quickly. You can see, this is the gymnasium, you can see the acoustic panels, the lights sitting in there. We got our basketball goals that would, fold up into that ceiling space. Some of these get a little hard to see just based on the block that we use, but they're the lights that are in the stage area. Here, that's what these are. And then, some of these smaller spaces. These are those rectangular lights I was talking about in the lobby space. You can see these here. We do have that little bit of a soffit here that's a little bit lower over the doors to the gym, and then acoustic ceilings out there.
Now, we didn't put a skylight in or any lighting, natural lighting in the gym?
No.
Okay.
No, the way the code is written, that over a certain size space, you do need to consider natural lighting, as long as you're putting in high efficiency LED style lighting, you don't need to do that. And so most clients opt to not do the skylights because most clients do not want to deal with skylights. So they have some benefits, they have some drawbacks, so. And drawbacks are bad drawbacks if they happen, so. This is the rest of the space. Classrooms are very typical and standard, just your standard 2x4 lights that you see throughout there. So, pretty typical stuff. Let's do exterior elevations. The outside of the building, again, you can see how we tried to mimic some of the texturing, kind of patterning of windows and such that are on the existing building. We can't completely match those because we did do these as the egress style windows that you see here. So the patterning isn't exactly the same, but kind of having the similar sort of modules and then the crossbars within the windows. The existing building has some low crossbars, but with these windows we can't really do that.
But when we replace the windows in the old building, we could mimic these.
You could, yes. Yep. The other thing you're seeing, these windows are a little higher off the ground than our typical. The idea with that being that you're able to put stuff up against the wall up below the windows, which you can't always do if the windows are lower. The other thing is with some of the smaller students, it allows them to see outside without necessarily looking directly into the playground. So you do have this little bit of visual separation when they're sitting down. They're not staring at a bunch of kids playing outside, so there's that little bit of a separation. So that's what you're seeing here.
In regards to the windows, are we open to considering an alternate for the original edition? See if we can get a bulk package for replacing, if we're looking down the road to renovate the original from a thermal standpoint, is it something to look at as an alternate?
We can, I think this is a project by itself. That's a lot of windows that I don't think you get done at the same time you're trying to do this. So I think breaking it up isn't a bad idea. And then the way that ultimately we're looking at that project, my perception and feeling has always been mechanicals first. It's the first thing we need to get done. And so to be able to buy the mechanicals for the rest of the building and then have that alternate ready at that time so that you're buying that, doing that, I think that would make some sense. You're going to have a lot of disruption with the work that goes on.
You're gonna have some work on the inside of the rooms as well, with those windows that, not knowing exactly what you're gonna do with those rooms down the road, you might be doing some work twice on the inside.
So like a typical classroom that you go to renovate, priority one being mechanicals, that it almost assures that you're doing ceilings and lights as well, because those kind of all go together all the time. And then from the priority list, you're looking at windows, you're looking at flooring, and you're looking at walls and paint. As you pull off those mechanical units and rework that, there's the potential we can remove those old unit ventilators, these things off the walls. That ensures that you have to look at flooring, that ensures that you have to look at some wall repairs and things of that nature. So there's just this kind of snowball effect that starts once you start getting into those classrooms. So we have an approach, we have an idea how we want to do it. It's just, there's scope there, and I think we need all the pieces in order so that we can look at all the prices and determine which ones are most palatable and where we're going to get the most bang for the buck and really affect the student experience.
So the heating and cooling units in the new edition classrooms, they're ceiling mounted?
So they're above the ceiling. So what you end up, what you end up
They're
with,
above.
yep. You got essentially a fan unit inside the classrooms above the ceilings that is pushing air throughout the room, and it's the thing that's adding in that additional heat. So the pipes go to those units, there's coils inside the units that the air is essentially blown through, and it adjusts to the space.
So you don't have anything along the walls?
No.
Okay, so if we go into the old edition, or the old building, you're talking about doing the same thing there?
That would be the hope, yes.
Okay.
Yep. And you can reutilize those existing units, locations. You could put in a new unit that does the same thing as that ceiling unit. But it's floor space, it's wall space, and there is a payoff between the two. As you rip out the old ones, you are repairing floors and repairing walls, so there's cost with that. But these units are more expensive now because hardly anybody does them anymore than those units are. Those are much more common.
By the time you replace the windows also, I mean, you're gonna have wall repairs on those walls anyways.
You're gonna be
I mean,
doing
that, you're gonna be ripping out some of it, so,
And as we do this too, as you're looking at those spaces, as you're doing tear out, it's best to just do it once, because to ask the teachers to pack up all their
Right.
stuff, move all their stuff, it's a lot of work. It's for the teachers, but also for the building staff that, maintenance and operations, to get all that stuff moved around, it's a lot of work, so.
Ryan, in the new section, are the walls all cinder block, or is it a combination of cinder block
It's
and
all
drywall?
block.
It's all block.
It's all block. Yeah, more and more, we've been going back to all block. There was a real push for a while where people were using a lot of drywall and studs, and it can work. There's just no going wrong with block. It just holds up to everything. It's easy to maintain. At one point, it was much more expensive, and it's kind of leveled out again where it's not much more expensive. And so that's why we've been seeing it used a lot more often for interior walls again. So just kind of ebbs and flows with the economy. And especially during COVID, it was very difficult to get masons to do masonry work. So there was a strong period there where it was much more cost effective to do drywall and studs. So again, you can just see some of the banding, some of the masonry that we have on the outside of the building. It should be a very handsome building when it's all said and done.
Bless you.
Overall building sections, just to give you a bit of an idea of what we have for clearances. This is a big structure inside the gym, runs from end wall to end wall. These are some of the smaller joists that span over the lobby here, for example, where we're pulling those big ducts in to go to the gym space. This is a mechanical room, so you can see we need the volume to get all of our ins and outs of the mechanical units. And then typical classrooms. The existing building is very low, and it's got very tight structure. We looked at that extensively, trying to match up to that, and just in today's requirements for structure and kind of some of your loads and things of that nature that you have to accommodate, it's very difficult to match to that and still get mechanical units that function in the spaces. They did not have ductwork that they were contesting with, they didn't have sprinklers, they didn't have, a lot of the, different things that you're running through ceilings that they had to deal with back then. When we get to this addition, or this renovation section of the building, there probably will be some locations where we have to drop some soffits and stuff to accommodate some of the things that we need to do over there, just because there is not a lot of plenum space over in that existing building. Just some more sections through the building. Again, this is mechanical space. You're just kind of seeing some of the restrooms and things. This is a typical classroom wing. So again, you can see with that bottom chord of the joist, there's still, even in this configuration, there isn't crazy amounts of space in the ceilings by the time you get it all said and done. You can run your ductwork between the joists, but you still have to pass from one section to another. So you still need some of that volume in those spaces. We did use a smaller structural element across the corridors so that we can run our big trunks, mechanical trunks down the hallway. There's a section of that down the hallway. Some of the views of the structures. This is that little extended learning area. Again, you can see monitor on the wall, little bench. So having that little section off that connector is nice as well. Exterior wall types, the typical wall is block. We will have weather barrier, or the thing that we've been seeing more and more is the insulation, where they go through and do a seal tape. So there are two ways of handling how the weatherproofing and insulation are done. They're both acceptable. So when we bid, we'll have that flexibility. You see your masonry ties and then a brick veneer out front. So very similar wall, just different brick types that you see throughout the spaces. And then this one down here is just around your mechanical unit on the outside of the building. So it doesn't need all those other elements that we have. These are just typical wall sections. These allow us to go through and look at all of the particular details. So you'll see this, some of the high gym space, the roof to wall conditions, all of those sorts of elements. We won't dive into those in detail, but we will show a couple of details. Wall section details, this is looking at how all of this is constructed. So again, you have your structural, your roof structure coming across, you do have your beams, you'll have your glass, we call for the spandrel, so you're hiding all of this above ceiling space. Spandrel being essentially a glass with a film on the backside, so it looks like glass from the outside. You get that effect of that volume, but you are able to conceal and hide some of those mechanical systems and structural systems and stuff back behind it. Very common. Fascia element, we do have prefabricated fascias across the front. We do have the extended metal where we have the thicker sections of the roof edge projecting. Then there's metal, essentially metal soffit panels that get installed there, and all the associated framing that goes along with that. Just some typical window details, just showing how all the blocking gets installed, the windows get set in place. There's steel lintels. These are cavity type wall systems, so you have all the venting that you need in order for the walls to breathe, because you want your walls to breathe inside that cavity so that you don't have water trying to make its way further into the building. So it's all those details that are necessary. Our typical sills will be bullnose CMU, so you will have a hard sill at those locations, which is good for, again, long-term maintenance and durability. So you've got that built into the project. That's similar to what we're doing on the other projects as well. These are frost slab details, and other details and such. So we don't have a lot of stairs ramps in this building, but we do have these two. One of them is just the ramp element that kind of snakes across the back of the stage space. So again, these details just show handrail locations. They show how it's structured out, how it's poured in those locations. Just attachments, heights, to make sure that we have ADA requirements as far as height for the handrails and things of that nature. So that's all built in here. And then there's the roof ladder details. So there's one up on the roof to get from one low section to mid section, and then the interior ladder that gets you up through the roof edge. Kind of a boring sheet, but this shows all of your accessibility, reach requirements, and things of that nature, placement of door signage, door clearances, all those sorts of things that are necessary to comply with the various aspects of the Americans with Disabilities Act guidelines. So these are all federal requirements for access. These are all of our typical elements that you see in space. These are sinks, these are grab bars, urinals, all those sorts of things. This shows mounting heights that would comply with the code requirements. So that's what this sheet really shows. And so we have, in the classrooms, in all these spaces, we do have these enlarged plans. These go through, they show the cubbies in greater detail, for example, show the casework above the cubbies, show the windows in the interior elevations, kind of your wet wall that we were talking about with the sink, the low casework, tack boards, display surfaces in the classrooms. This is the standard teacher station that we've been doing. So it's got all of those elements. This is basically the same stuff that we did over at Riverview as well, so it's very comparable to what you saw there. Gymnasium, again, just striping, painting of the floor, those sorts of details. And we will ask you for colors and final striping diagrams when we get to that point during submittals, when we get contractors selected. You see some of the elevations, you can see the acoustic panels on the walls and on the ceilings there. The extended learning area, it's got some of the details for like the display case, the bench in the lobby. We do these quite a lot. The benches, we end up with a fabric on them that's easy to clean, very durable. Again, the idea is you have some of these built-in elements so they don't walk away. We've found that if you put just standalone benches, they don't end up staying there. People will take them and move them all over the place. So where you have kind of controlled environments where you want it happens.
Okay.
Yeah. We do extended learning areas, we've done a couple of times where you have a big one in between 4 classrooms, and the district will ask for 4 tables and chairs out there for that space, and then you'll go in there 2 weeks later and there's no furniture in there and the classrooms are full of furniture. So it gets repositioned at some point, so there's that. Casework sections are not important. Doors, window information. So what you see here is the door schedule. And then typical elevation. So that's where it talks about how these windows are constructed, the shape of those. This will ultimately take you to details and things of that nature. It talks about the glazing systems in those. And then your door schedule, it goes through and it breaks it down. There's questions where we come back and say, are you sure you want a narrow light in this door? Do you want a wide style door? That's where all this information gets called out.
I know those questions came up in Riverview.
Mhm.
Do we just stay consistent with what we did there?
So that's what we've done.
Like the hardware and all of that as well?
Yep. So Riverview, part of that was just some of the drawings didn't necessarily match what ultimately got installed. And I'm sure that was a conversation that happened during the project, some of the changes that were made. So that's where a couple of those questions came from, and now I think we're at a good point where we know what you guys want, so.
Right, maybe at some point in time you wanna review it with Rich, the hardware schedule,
Sure.
functions on the doors,
Mhm.
and your, IT security, John.
John.
Just to make sure that we get all the, if you guys want any key fob doors or whatever.
We're
some
definitely
of
gonna
those,
look at it.
Yeah, so let's just make sure we address it now.
And we have had that cursory discussion, that's been a month or 2 ago, I think, about placement of card readers. We do have card readers and hold opens built
Okay.
in, but we can revisit that. It doesn't hurt to revisit that and make sure everybody's still on the same page. The general philosophy is the same as we always do, where you have these corridors with doors that impede kind of student traffic during the day. Generally put those on hold open so they stay open. And then we have card readers for back access in the case of an emergency, things like that, so. Look at these quick. This is typical interior partition elements, and so there's exterior wall types. Exterior walls are called walls in the building code. Partitions are dividers within the space. So within the exterior walls, they're called partitions from a code standpoint. This shows partitions. So there's masonry partitions, which is 99% of what we're doing, and then stud wall, and that really only happens in maybe like a bubble wall or something like that where we need infill. That's really all we're using this for in this condition. Anymore we see in schools, new schools, block walls happening just about everywhere. We still do a lot of metal stud and drywall in offices and things like that where it's maybe administration, front of the building where parents are going to be visiting. Just, it's a softer feel, but it is something that requires a little bit more maintenance, and is more susceptible to some damage. So that's general notes that go along with those. So site plan is still a bit of a work in progress. This is the site plan as it currently sits. This site has way more topography than you would imagine, which I was a bit surprised by. I'll open this one. There is fall across the back of the site that you don't really feel that much when you're out there. You've got the modulars that were sitting in this location previously, and you didn't really, I didn't perceive that much fall from the building to the back, but it's almost 5 feet by the time you get to the back portion of the site. So we are building up a section of this area for the building. We're bringing it in as level as we can, doing all that connection. We looked at potentially adding some floor change elevation within the addition. Just did not pick up enough for it to really make much sense to do it that way. This allows us to keep our parking lot fairly flat and consistent, a little swale along the edge that gets you back over to detention, picking up these drains, kicking them over to our detention basin, which would be fenced in over in this location. So it ties together real nicely. Around the building, we would end up with a little more topography up against the building, just past the sidewalk, which might be nice as we have fields out in this kind of northern area of the site. Parents could sit on those, kind of grassy areas and be able to kind of see the kids out in this area, which would be cool. You'd have the sidewalk around to get you to the playgrounds. These playground elements are not that way for aesthetic. These were really driven by some existing structures, drainage structures that are in the site that we didn't really want to adjust. The county engineer basically position is existing systems are existing systems, and if you're able to leave the existing systems, you don't have to replace the existing systems. And so that's what we're doing. There's some collectors here that catch portions of the building, and that's what you're seeing in these locations. These playground surface areas were positioned to avoid those. But these would be your swings, these would be your kind of climbers and things of that nature in these circles, which I think could be fun, look really interesting.
Yeah, the swings are the only thing we can save in the existing playground.
Yep, and their position
Those are
is,
brand
yep, their position is actually really good, from the sense that if this is our primary door that gets you back into that lobby space over by the gym, the swings are kind of on their own, kind of tucked back. All the rest of the playground is to the side. You don't like mixing swings into the center of a playground just because of that kick danger that goes along with swings. So it actually lays out really nice, not through design in this case, it's just through coincidence that it ends up there.
That's where the swings are currently sitting?
Yeah.
So you're not moving them?
Correct. And what you see here too is we do have space for the basketball court. We do have 2 smaller soccer areas over here. You could stripe this however, this is not artificial turf, so it's not like these lines are going to be set in the ground. So you could restripe it 100 different ways if you wanted to, but showing that you have space for kind of like 2 pony soccer fields. And then an area down here where we are putting a little bit of a backstop, and you could stripe out baseball at this location as well, baseball, softball, so that you have the ability to play a couple different sports here. You could leave the little goals in these locations. You could still play baseball, softball down in this area. So kids would have access to basketball, baseball, softball, and soccer in this nice little kind of compact area, which I think would be really nice.
So a home run would be to that softball diamond?
Yeah.
So I could go there and maybe
Yeah.
hit at least one, 10 out of the park.
We're not building a baseball field though, it's just gonna be the grass that's there.
It's grass, the
Yeah.
only thing we're building as a built element would be the backstop,
Okay.
so that you have a little bit of a backstop, and that's fencing. We're not doing, high school quality
Right.
backstop.
You could do T-ball there or something.
Yeah, that's really the goal.
Kickball, I've seen that as a.
Yeah, and the importance, I think, of the backstop is just when you do that, just giving a safe zone, non-safe zone for kids that are swinging bats. And it's also when, parents or teachers are out there trying to pitch to these kids and they got a bucket of balls, you're not spending all day chasing those. So you do have a little bit of protection there, and a little bit of function that goes along with that.
Staff wiffle ball league, Chris.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd be into that. We got NIL money on that.
So yeah, that's kind of that in a nutshell. The idea would be again to maintain a fenced playground primary. We do have fencing around the detention basin. There's fencing that kind of skirts along this edge. We did get some results from wetlands that we need to get a little bit better idea of what she's talking about, but she had mentioned there could potentially be something.
She did said she'll give me the report more this week.
Yeah.
Like the actual write-up and then recommendations, which probably is an actual study.
Yep. So we'll see what that entails.
Well, that small section she referenced is the one we just wanna stay away from.
Correct.
Basically, so I don't think that should be an issue.
My hope is that there's no problem with it, and if it's stuck back far enough, it won't be a problem. So, just don't know exactly where she was talking, so. The rest of this up in here, it wouldn't affect anything. Our tree line kind of starts right here. So it's really this little bit that we're looking at, and I don't think it's in there.
I think in the long run, looking at this stuff closer, we're gonna move that detention, further to the east or down towards the bottom of that. Just because of what's in that tree line, the size of those trees, and a lot of other things, so that's, I have to get with her and, talk about that some more.
Okay. So, the only other thing that you see here is this is the connection to that existing parking lot. We did create, this is a little bit of a, it's probably easier to see on here. This is a little bit of a drop-off area at these doors, so you can do a drop-off here. And then as you pull down through the space, we've got the parking, obviously, a turnaround down at the end. We did maintain a gravel area just past the turnaround so that you can push off snow, and allow it to kind of drain down to detention basin at that end of the site as well. And connector sidewalks.
How many additional parking spots?
We were targeting, I think it was, I'm gonna get that number wrong if I try to tell you right now.
Looks like it's 48 to 50 or so.
Yeah, it looks like she has a 23 and a 33, so.
Oh, okay, so a little more.
so.
Oh, I see, because it continues to go.
Yep.
All right, all the way out. Yeah.
Yep. That's what we got there. Code review sheets, that's for the building department. Again, this just talks about egress pathways, our firewall locations, things of that nature that are relevant and pertinent for the plans examiner to review. We talked about lighting. So, this is not. Typical classroom power requirements, again, this is very typical and standard with what we have elsewhere in the district. You know, general placement of fixtures, making sure that you have access to outlets where you need them, on walls with monitors, you know, at the teacher station, having some additional electrical in those locations, having down your hallways some convenience outlets. So all of that's just built into these electrical plans, very typical stuff.
So we're picking up electrical from the existing then? Do we have to do did they do some calcs, are we changing transformer or anything? Or
I honestly don't remember what he did with that. I will have to double check. Do you remember if he had to do service upgrade initially? I don't know if that was required. Yeah, we'll double check that.
Let's just, can we just make sure that he has, if we are doing an upgrade, that he has talked to First Energy or whatever?
I know he's been doing that. I don't know where he ended with his final counts, so we'll have to double check that.
Same thing with the gas.
Where's the water coming from?
That he's picking up from the existing.
Are we changing out the existing that's from the street?
Yes. Yep, and that should be in her city utilities. Civil is a bit behind. The survey just came in a little later, so there's a couple items in here that she's still working through. I don't know if I'm able to find it all.
The last one I saw from her didn't have a lot of details, but.
No, I think she's still missing that on
Yeah.
this particular drawing, so. But But yes, that was the idea, was that we're pulling in that new water service.
New water, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know if we wanna count on the original pipes.
I'm not counting it.
Not after we've already changed out 5 feet of it.
Yeah.
That's a big hole.
It's a deep curb.
Yes,
Now's the time to do it.
well, glad it happened where it happened, not
Inside the building.
a couple feet inside.
Yeah.
So just general mechanical plans, you can kind of see how they do distribution, how it gets very complicated in certain areas. So that's why we have some of the volume that we have in the lobby and things like that, to make sure that we can get through those spaces and gain the access we need. You do have some return air that would be up in those locations, but just then your primary feed. Typical classroom distribution. So you're again seeing, these are those fan boxes that I was talking about that happen in the classrooms. These are essentially your control for the classrooms. They heat and cool the air to get it to temperature for those particular.
Are those the ceiling fan cassettes like we had talked about in the high school cafeteria?
No.
No, those are BAVs.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, the cassettes are more of just, you will see the unit. It's got the vents and the fan that's built into that thing, and that's got the condenser coils going to it, or
Okay.
the condenser lines going to it. These are getting your piping that's running down the hallway that supply these, and then they do the work in there. So if you're adjusting the temperature, they've got the hot and cold coming into it, and
Okay.
they're allowed, that helps them boost temperature into these spaces, or cool temperature into these spaces. So that's essentially what you're seeing there. Again, there's the chiller at the north end, the connections down at that location. Piping kind of running through here. Stop closing that. Again, all the piping and connections to all the different boxes and things of that nature running through here as well. Yeah, these are his primaries that he's running down here, and those are to extend to the building, you know, at a future point. Yeah. Some of the other kind of work that's happening. Moving down. Plumbing, just general plumbing lines, these are so one line all the time, they're a little more basic to read, but you do have some of your wall hydrants on the outside of the building. It has your connections throughout the new building, some of your drains, things of that nature, floor drains and the vestibules. That all shows up in the plumbing plans. This also gets to your classrooms, where you do have the piping, all your hot and cold water that's going to the classrooms. It's showing you storm piping being the roof drainage that's coming down off the roof and essentially piping from the outside, and connections to the storm system. That's what you're seeing on these plans. Again, this is all pretty straightforward stuff. Roof, and just the primary drains and overflow drains on the roof. So just making sure that we have all the areas covered and there's access to drainage from the roof areas. Technology plans, this is where he does have the projector and the screen. Yeah, I guess he's doing this is a
Oh, it's a backlit projector,
Yeah,
okay.
backlit projector there, so he's got that. Sound system throughout the main space, where you get your wireless access points, things of that nature. He does have his data everywhere. See the cameras around the outside of the building. That's very similar in concept to what we did for Riverview and CTV, so it's very similar features built in here. wireless access points. He does have them facing out around the building as well, so you do have some perimeter outside access as well, which is good, especially with the playground, especially since people can turn their phones on to have Wi-Fi assist phone, which in a building anymore is a nice thing to be able to do, because especially in a block building, it does get a little tricky sometimes to get connection, so having that backup is nice.
Well, we need the outdoor wireless coverage anyway,
Yep.
for our Vocera system.
Yep. So you've got all that built in here. It's very, again, very similar to what we have elsewhere in the district. Security plans, I didn't know that. But these generally show his cameras and his coverage. So what he was showing here was this camera has 180-degree coverage. So you have a couple of these that show, you know, the various points within the space, and that's really to give you, you know, at the entry, for example, the ability to monitor who's coming into the space, or see if something happens in this space, who accessed from the doorways, and make sure that you have an idea of you know, somebody fell, this is how we know who it was, and you know what happened, that sort of thing. So that's that in a nutshell. And that's for public spaces. It's not in classrooms, so we don't have cameras in the classrooms. Some just data details. And that is kind of it in a nutshell, unless you want to get into data details. But again, mounting heights and things of that nature. It's really all these are very boilerplate type items at some point. Some of these, it's mounting locations, mounting heights, connections for monitors, displays, just general horn installations, devices, things of that nature.
What did you call out for technology in those classrooms?
For the display,
Yeah, are we doing interactive TVs?
they are, yes, monitors, yep, at the front of those classrooms. Let's see if I can find it specifically.
Are there AV systems in the rooms as well, like speakers around it?
Yes.
And then with the microphone for the
Yes.
teacher?
Yep, he's got the ability to do that. That is very standard.
Yes.
These are your speakers,
Okay.
ceiling speakers, wireless access point, and there is your 75-inch monitor up at the front. This is the teacher station with all the appropriate associated connection points. and things.
Is the monitor gonna be owner provided or by the contractor, do we know?
I don't remember what we did. See if I can find out.
Do you guys typically buy those or?
That's a better answer for technology.
Yeah.
Most projects the owner does, unless it's too daunting, just because then you don't have markup on it.
I think we have done them for, I think we did.
Okay,
call them
I
out.
just wanna make sure we're not, cause those could be a chunk,
They are large, they're not cheap.
yeah.
This is the actual interactive board, you can
Yes.
touch it and all that.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna go to just regular monitors.
For the kindergarten, for the pre-K, for the
Oh,
younger kids.
those are the ones that they-
Those are still interactive,
Yeah,
and that's.
got it, yeah. But for the other ones, they'll
The
just
other ones,
be.
they would just be standard.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to find that symbol.
We'll look it up and we're
Yeah,
gonna
if you just
qualify
note
it
that they're
anyway,
gonna be
so.
owner provided.
Yep,
$4,000 versus $400.
there's a little difference.
Yeah, it's just a touch.
One of the things too that we'll have to do is identify what, in order to make that decision, we'll have to know what classes are gonna go in these rooms. Cause that'll also dictate furniture, and what I don't
Furniture,
wanna
absolutely,
get to
furniture.
is, Ryan, where you're emailing me going, what furniture do you wanna order? You know what I mean, like, and I don't know what to order because I don't know what classroom, so I don't know, would that come through buildings and grounds, through programs, how? Do we wanna just wait till we get to that point? But I know that was a little bit of a struggle at River.
I think we have part of it's a conversation even with building administration and kind of see what bring them in on the scope. And obviously the first 4 rooms are primary setup now. We only have 2 kindergarten classrooms this year, but I think then naturally you go K1 in those first 4. And then what's the vision for the rooms going down? Is it more of a 2, 3? Where do we kind of see that? I think that's an easy conversation
Okay.
to have. Is it, K1?
I just wanna make sure the conversation gets
Yeah.
had, cause
Yes,
it did
no,
not
I
at
would agree.
Riverview, and
I would-
that caused a problem with furniture.
I think that's absolutely, and I think that's also in conjunction with phase two and how we redo it, because obviously we'd be doing furniture for the rest of the building at that point.
What's the timeline on this first phase?
We will be wrapping up drawings here this week,
Well,
barring any big changes.
yeah, let's talk about that. So you're talking about architectural, mechanical, electrical will be wrapped up by the end of this week. And then we're sending those to the contractor. But the site civil, which is unfortunately what we would need first, because that's where we're starting, you're about
Couple
2
weeks.
to 3 weeks away.
Yep.
So the way we've been talking about it for now is to get the MEPs and architectural structural, get those going, start pricing those, so at least we have that going. And then when we get the civil, follow up with those. So realistically, the way things are falling into place with that Ryan and I, and we went through it with the contractor as well, we're potentially gonna have a GMP sometime in that towards the end of October, third.
And I assume we're still we've already bid out, architects obviously, but CMR and all
Yeah.
of that, it's already done?
Yeah, they're already under contract.
Okay.
They've been contracted for both pre-construction and construction phase. Obviously, construction isn't gonna happen until we have a GMP approved,
Yeah.
but the pre-con phase, they're already part of that.
Are you thinking spring then? Dirt moving
Oh, no, we're looking,
sooner
if
than
we
that?
don't do fall, we're not open for next year.
Okay, so you wanna get dirt
We
moving
definitely have
still
to, yeah.
before school, well, before Christmas
Well,
break?
the goal was the end of October, looks like we might be delayed a little bit, but break ground, get the groundwork done.
Okay,
And then whatever is accompanied with that, because you have a little bit of extra cost to protect that through the winter. But we're looking at doing that such that once spring breaks, they can go and complete the project, so for the following school year, it's open.
and what's the temperature, that makes sense, what's the temperature on concrete and blocks, the lowest it can go?
You're kind of in that, I think high 20s, low 30s, but there's weather protection you could do. It's just, there's cost associated with that.
Are we thinking
Yeah,
about
what-
doing that cost for the weather protection?
Yeah, we have to, otherwise there's gonna be disruption into the next
And
school
you
year.
can put some kind of chemical in it too, right, in the concrete to get
There's a
set up?
bunch of things.
That'll only go so far though, you're gonna have to protect it.
Yeah.
Well, the game plan is, let's get through the GMP phase, get to the GMP, have these numbers put together, see where we stand. Let, the district make the decision, and then we are gonna have a couple of different options. We're gonna have an option of starting in the fall and stopping and picking it up in the spring, or starting in the fall and keep going, which is where you're gonna have what you're talking
The
about.
additional costs.
Additive cost to the mortar, additive cost to, everything else that we're gonna be doing. I think we can get the footers done prior to the bad weather hitting, but then Ryan and I are talking about that, there might be some shallow footers that we might wanna spend the money, we have to spend the money to go deeper because of the frost lines.
Mhm.
So there's gonna be a little bit of, we're gonna have much more discussions when we come to the,
It's all weather dependent.
exactly, come October, when we have some real numbers to talk about, I think a lot of these decisions are gonna have to be made.
But working from the conclusion backwards planning here, the idea is this will be open in the fall,
Right.
right?
Right, yeah, you don't wanna have
26,
you don't wanna have
27.
another
Yeah.
year of disruption for the operations of the school.
That's a tight timeline.
It is very tight.
These
The
guys
other
are-
Tight timeline.
These guys are good.
other
We'll
thing-
see.
Another thing we need to look at, and that's one thing that, once we get the documents this week, we're gonna jump on right away, is all the mechanical equipment. We need to look at timelines on those and delivery, because those are still several weeks out. And I don't, till we get pricing from the suppliers and figure out what's what and what's where, we won't be able to answer those questions. But that's on my list to do as soon as we get the documents and get started with Cleveland Construction on it. And those, I'm not as worried about the electrical, but the MEP, especially, we're talking about a chiller unit, we're talking about a boiler unit, so those could be long leads.
And those might be, depending on what it is, those might be stuff that we get everything piped in and it gets connected at the very end.
Sure.
But it's something you just gotta make sure that you're planning for.
So that's kind of the time frame. I think we'll have a much better idea of everything come second week or third week in October. Obviously, you'll have the numbers so you can make some decisions accordingly. But we're gonna look at all, winter weather protection, if we keep going, if we stop. And at the end of the day, I mean, none of us can predict it. So we might have a crappy winter and we might lose a month, or we might have a good winter and keep going, so.
Even if we were to not work through the winter and stop, we're looking at 3 months, basically, so we'd start the school
Couple
year.
of months,
running
yeah, I mean,
through a couple,
typically
3
you're,
months, and then-
you lose December, January, part of February, you
Yeah.
can get started again.
And
I
then-
mean, usually that's
So
typical, but you never know.
We would just have to build in a transition time in the middle of the school year to transition in, so they would be open at some point for next school year.
Correct.
Next school, okay.
And the idea is you don't wanna have them disrupted where they have to change their whole operation.
Yeah.
So be ideal to be open for school.
And this funding that we're working with Prosecco on right now, is that funding
He's
for
pretty
this?
much ready to go.
Is that funding for this project?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so it'd be nice to get a GMP before we go out for,
Oh, well,
Final
we
numbers.
pretty much know what we're gonna borrow.
okay,
What we're gonna borrow is basically built around what our yearly payment is. The
Right.
yearly payment was built in at $825,000.
yeah,
So how much we borrow depends on the rate, and the rates have been coming down,
yeah.
okay? So, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so do you have an idea approximately what you think the budget is for this? Cause I'm
Well,
still-
that's what I'm curious about. I know what we're talking to Mike Prosecco about loaning out, but I don't know, I don't have a number over here to say this is gonna cover that.
Well, that's kind of what.
So we're looking at probably right now borrowing 12.5 to 13 million.
So that's kind of the budget. Not kind of, it is.
Well, it is.
But that's also to cover the inside too, correct?
That's the renovation.
Yeah, that's the whole,
Yeah, yeah.
the whole
Yeah,
thing.
that's the whole thing, yeah.
Well, that's to renovate the existing.
Yeah, yeah.
As well, so that's the
Yeah.
fate, including.
And Buckeye and Melridge, so it's a matter of what can we do, how much can we do, how far can we go with each? And it's not, we're not gonna get everything we wanna get as much done as we can with the.
So I am clear, then it seems to me the game plan is you're gonna get that 12 and a half, whatever that number ends up. We're gonna see where the addition is gonna land, we're gonna see how much we have left.
Yeah,
And then based on how much we have left is gonna be the phase two.
yeah,
That's gonna be part of Melridge and the,
and Buckeye,
the Buckeye, the existing,
right.
which would be some MEP and some cosmetics. Okay.
As
And
far
we'll
as
be-
we can get.
And we'll be able to invest that money and draw from it, draw down on it, so. Still, we're getting pretty good returns right now, so, that will help with phase two, whatever we
Right,
can
so,
pick up.
so the
off
money we're
interest.
borrowing,
We'll reinvest the
I get it.
money
right,
we're
right,
borrowing,
it's not gonna cost us hardly anything to carry the money.
not just to carry it, no. Obviously, we're indebting the PI,
So
but
if we-
at this point.
Let's just say for round numbers, we get a 3.5, 3.6, 3.7 rate,
Mhm.
and we're able to get 4%, well, you're not alled to do that. You
I
get,
can tell
you get,
We
let's say
we
you,
get what's it called, arbitrage? I think that's
Yeah.
arbitrage, there's
yeah,
the word
so
I'm
you,
looking for.
let's say we borrow it at 3.6 and we get a 3.6 return, it's not costing us any money to carry it until we spend it.
That's correct.
So that's a real benefit right now. And the way the bond rates are, like this morning, the 10-year was at 4.10. And that wasn't that long ago, it was in a 4.3 something. And so now it's down to about 4.10, and we're gonna see what happens, but that's gonna allow us to borrow a little bit more than if we had to act a month ago.
Sure.
So the key is gonna be to establish the GMP for what's called
Yes.
this addition phase one.
And then
And then that's gonna determine what we have left
Yeah.
for phase two, and then we can start talking about what are we gonna do at Buckeye and Melridge in phase 2?
Right, right.
So basically, both of those will be, well, Buckeye could be in the summer,
Ideally,
phase 2.
ideally, right?
Okay.
Well, see what the timing is, and so, yeah, we've done considerable amount of work, Mr. Keeney's done a considerable amount of research, investigation, and, so we have a fairly good idea, but it's gonna come down to how much money do we have and how far will it go?
Mhm.
That could work out. Okay. I got a better idea of the time frame now, because if we're gonna determine where's phase 1 gonna sit and what we have left for phase 2, we have time to design phase 2 where we could potentially, so we end up with a whole building done.
Possible.
And maybe not in August, but sometime in 2026.
Yeah, that would,
Yeah, with a minimal disruption, because there's gonna be some disruption, like Brian said,
'Cause-
it's inevitable,
Okay.
yeah. This way to be as comfortable for the administration, teachers, staff in the building, because we don't wanna disrupt them if we can help it, but there's gonna be some.
It's gonna be in 27.
Yeah, that's unavoidable.
Unavoidable, but we'll minimize it.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you all for attending.
Okay.
Other questions come up, obviously, feel free to reach out. I'm sure we're going to have some adjustments as we go through, next part, as we're going through bidding, we will be going through permitting. There's always changes that happen with the permitting process. Usually it's
Yeah.
engineering related, so we'll just be mindful of that. We'll just keep communicating through the group as best we can if there are any alterations or, the other part of it, as we go through bidding, sometimes contractors have a great idea, like this will save some money or save some time. I feel like we've done a very good job thus far with the other projects of being open-minded to those and incorporating where we can. So if we can find some dollars and cents somewhere, we're gonna try to do that.
Right, and so presently, right, Roger, your last update was, we were on time and 450,000 under budget?
Well, we were 450,000. We had a
That's
few
every
things
big
that have come up.
construction
Well, I'm planning and coming to the board meeting. Chris and I talked in September to give you guys an update on that, and then where we stand with it. The time frame is still pretty good. We're right there where we need to be. While I got most of it, we really need to talk about this courtyard and this concrete strip that we're talking about. I looked at it, we're putting numbers together. It's a lot more elaborate concrete-wise than I expected it to be, but I get what you guys are trying to do there. On the brick side of things, for that one strip, what's your, not the pavers, what's your time frame on that, Dennis? When do you think you could have whatever you're coming up with there put together?
Well, I have to check into that.
Okay.
Exactly what we're gonna have on those, we don't know yet. I'm gonna get with Chris to see what some ideas that we have.
Okay.
That we can put in there, but I think the materials are available, it's just a matter of what do we want engraved on them,
Okay.
and then setting them in place.
Because honestly, I think doing this 2 inches of concrete and breakable and then breaking it, and we're wasting money, I think. And B, I don't think it's gonna hold, truthfully. It might crack sooner than we know. So my thoughts are either we kind of like, let's expedite this brick paver thing a little bit to come up with a solution so we can get that done as part of it. And or if that's not feasible, why don't we just fill it up with stone, tamp it, we can put some 304, we can put some screenings on top of it, tamp it really good so it holds till the spring, summer, and then we can scratch 2 inches of top surface and put the pavers.
I know they have some bonding stuff you can put on those fines that would,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I
keep it
mean,
in place.
honestly, the minute you get a little, if you do some screening, some fine screenings, the minute you get some rain on it, it's gonna solidify, like the, not as much as 2 inches of concrete, but it's gonna be easier to deal with
Right.
when we're scratching it, and it's not gonna cost you as much. So just something to think about, and if we can, expedite the paver idea and get that finalized, that's even that much better. Because we do have time, and that's
What
gonna
is
be,
their timeline to pour that,
well, we gotta get the pricing, we gotta get that approved. I mean, that's gonna be a change order.
If you do concrete though and it cracks, and it always cracks.
We got a lot of control joints and a lot of sockets on this thing. I mean, I honestly, this is one time where I'm hoping, and I don't think it's gonna crack. I mean, we have a ton of sockets and control joints everywhere on that thing. So,
So you've done everything you can do.
well, I mean, this is all part of a design. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all part of a design thing that Dennis came up with Ryan. But that strip section that we're gonna end up being pavers, I just think, you know.
right?
But to answer your question, here's where we're at. They're pricing it now. We'll know what the ad cost is. We'll get back to you guys on it, and then you guys can make a decision if you wanna move forward with it or not.
Going back to that, I know we had talked about external lighting in that courtyard as well, something
That's right.
like lights pushing up
Mhm.
into that. Did that get built in? I don't remember.
We had the lights at the door.
At the doors,
Yeah.
that's gonna kind of be a dark, do we wanna put lights facing? I was just at, ironically, Hillcrest yesterday, but they have those lights that kind of go up onto the side of the building that look like they're just illuminating lights that go up into the, do we wanna illuminate part of like the window side of that?
So we could do
Like an in,
a bunch of different things. I mean, you could do, wall packs are easy, we could add those whenever. If we get the lighting over at the door installed, it's not enough, we could add wall packs whenever you want.
Okay.
So you could go, like in that primary kind of seating area, we could put them on the corners, about, on either
Okay.
side of the window, and it would light up that area really well. You
I,
could
it's
do-
not that, just to kind of even to highlight it though, and make it almost a nighttime, if that's the night entrance, to really highlight
Well,
something
for
that's like.
safety reasons, I would
Well,
think
there's
they would
safety as well,
also,
but-
Yeah,
and
we would
for
want- we would
vandalism
also-
reasons.
Yeah, also
Yeah.
just to highlight the, highlight the
That's the bad
space
thing.
and, I mean, it's gonna look really nice, and I think to highlight kind of and draw traffic in would be a benefit as
Yeah,
well.
we don't want a dark space.
Ideally, we're gonna have like the Welling build or
sorry?
make one of their, like a
Yeah, it's a
beaver,
backlight,
almost a
yeah, like,
backlight,
yeah.
but the backlight even, just to have some opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have them look at a couple more lighting
Yeah,
options.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah, light it up.
Yeah, sure. Well, when we had talked about it, you.
No, that's great, but you don't want them to-
No,
to be paid for by different buckets, but this is.
And it's not gonna cost them.
I mean, what I'm.
Are we-
I think we're good.
Yeah, we're done. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, everybody.